Hey guys, it's Edbert. So, a few weeks ago, I invited you guys to ask me anything on my Discord and Instagram. A lot of you have questions about me and who I am as a person and a programmer. So today, in honor of 1,000 subscribers, I thought we'd do something fun and actually answer these questions and for you guys to get to know me a little bit better. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe and watch this until the very end. It lets me know that you like videos like this and you want to see more of them. And if you follow me on my socials, you can vote for what topic I cover next. So with that, let's begin. So the first question comes from ISO. What drew your interest to get started in programming? So at the time, I started off as an econ major and was going to community college and hoping to transfer to a four-year university. I mostly just took computer science as an elective for that requirement. Turns out I was pretty good at it and I just kind of stuck with it, and eventually I just switched majors. In order to make it useful to me and relevant, I actually created an image downloader just as a hobby experiment, and eventually moved on to modifying a Minecraft client in order to grease servers. This was before the Reddit plugins became a lot more sophisticated, so a lot of the hacks we were doing were pretty rudimentary, but they were fun nonetheless. My favorite one was an automatic feature that would constantly place blocks in front of a person and just trap them. That was pretty fucking cool, actually. But yeah, I remember getting banned from a few servers because of that. But that exploration of code was pretty fun to write, and eventually I kind of rolled that into implementing my first patent. And eventually I just kind of got so obsessed with it that I eventually switched majors. Kiki asks, how do you stay motivated for interviews? For me, I would say my motivation usually comes from two factors: having a reason to succeed and comparing myself to others. Yeah, I know, everyone says to not compare yourself to others, but you know what, I'll get to that. As you guys know, when I first went to apply for interviews, I was in a do or die situation where I really needed a job out of school. But I think you guys are a little bit more curious about when and why I chose to leave Apple and what my motivation for that was. At the time, my motivation was not wanting to waste another year of my life, as bad as that sounds. I mean, sure, there was a guarantee of a senior promotion to me, and I was working at a job that anyone would kill for. But to me, I knew that stability would also tie me down without seeing what else is out there. In other words, I knew once I got that offer and the refreshers and the benefits that came with it, I knew I'd probably be spending a good chunk of my career at Apple, and I would be tying myself down without seeing how other companies did things or what new ideas and products were out there. So for me, I saw it as a moment that could change how I spend the rest of my life. Just that gravity alone meant a lot, because it's not just enough to just get a high salary. There has to be something in your life that's being impacted by it, and once you begin to focus on that, the gravity of what you're doing becomes all that more evident. The other part to this motivation is comparing myself to others. When you compare yourself to others, you begin to see what their habits are, and you begin to try copying the ones that help them succeed. So I was seeing a lot of people getting senior offers in 4 years, which was extremely rare, but to me, because I constantly surrounded myself with a bunch of high performers, I was thinking it was normal. And I thought, well, if they can do it, why can't I? And had I just said that I was just going to go at my own pace, I think I would have been pretty complacent. I mean, granted, at the time, it was more just like a curiosity and a nice to have. And it just so happened that Uber just gave me the offer and was offering everything I wanted. But yeah, if I hadn't been comparing myself to others and seeing what worked for them, I would have never been able to copy the habits or had the motivation to really try and do what they did. Kravoff asks, what was the most difficult event or experience of your programming career or pre-career? How did you overcome it? And what do you feel you learned from it? Since this is a programming channel, I will say the most difficult experience was earning my coworkers' respect. When I first started at Apple, I had the same habits as many of you guys, just slapping together code that just worked and moved on from it. But then that caused a really, really bad bug, and I remember shitting my pants over it and thinking I was gonna get fired because of it. And I knew that if I wanted to stay at Apple, I would have to improve, and fast. Those 6 months where I was spending basically every waking moment messing up and trying to get better was pretty much hell on earth. Trying new ideas, trying out what my coworkers were saying, wondering if I really understood anything at all, and constantly hitting that wall, all in an attempt to really learn and earn my coworkers' respect and trust, most of all, was really an expensive prize, but I felt was one worth getting. See, if you want to have any kind of impact, you need to have people believe in you. And if you don't have the skills to do what you say or to implement whatever you want, then how can people trust you? And so what I felt that was having the skill and professionalism that rivaled that of my coworkers, or at least reflected it, was the best way for me to earn their trust. I think what really helped me the most to overcome all of that was really copying them. At the very beginning, I was constantly trying to do things on my own, but I remember approaching one of my recently promoted coworkers and asking him what I could do better, or just for me to sit in on his meetings and his decision making. He always delivered, and he was very thoughtful in every single one of his approaches. So I kind of figured to start copying him, listening to him, get as many comments and feedback from him on my merge request as humanly possible, read his commits, understand and ask where his questions were coming from whenever he raised them, and try to copy his thought patterns. So what I realized from all that is that it's fine to copy other people. They have years of experience that can save you years of humiliation and failures. And for you to completely ignore that is a wasted resource. After all, what are you going to come up with in the next 6 months out of your own imagination that they haven't thought of in 10 years of industry experience? And I know I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys about all this if it wasn't for having the right people on the team that I could learn from. But Monkey asks, tab or spaces? Tabs. The whole point of code is to be human readable, and spaces don't really help as much as tabs do. In fact, spaces kind of end up making things really, really squished and illegible. But it's the same once it gets compiled and run, so it's really not that much of a big deal. Shruby asks, balancing social life and hobbies versus work. I would say probably choosing hobbies and a social life and a friend circle that complements your work. At some point, your work becomes what you are all about, which kind of makes sense because that's what you're going to be spending most of your time doing. And you're going to grow apart from the people in your life who have different interests and pursuits. The people you hung out with in college simply because they were around, well, they're not going to be around anymore. But that doesn't mean that y'all can't have like a beer once in a while and enjoy each other's company like the old days. But I find that once I get deeper into a hobby beyond just the surface level, I begin to meet more interesting people. And it's these people who have spent thousands of hours trying to learn everything about what they're doing that I can have the most interesting conversations with. One of whom was actually a staff software engineer at Apple. Nowadays, between YouTube and work, the only other free time I have left is really for going to the gym. Exercising an hour a day prevents me from going nuts with excess energy, keeps me in good shape, and keeps my sleep schedule regular. I don't intend on competing or doing steroids, but being able to bench 225 for a couple of reps is actually pretty nice. And because of my partial involvement in media, I actually got to meet a lot of Dota 2 esports professionals. But that's a story for another day. Jason11 asks, where to live and save money in the Bay Area? I would say if you're looking to save an extra buck or two, then living in the East Bay is actually pretty good. One of the things I remember doing was because work provided food in a to-go box, I would often take a little bit extra and save it and store it in the fridge. And I would do this every day. By the time the weekend rolled around, I had enough leftovers to feed me through the weekend without having to buy my own food. In this way, you can reduce your food bill to essentially zero and save yourself like a couple $100. Commuting in the Bay Area also is pretty expensive and bad. But for the most part, I would consider time and money to be very interchangeable, so I would definitely pay more to live closer to work. In fact, I wouldn't even try buying a car in the Bay Area until you end up spending around $300 on Ubers in a given month. At that point, it's just so much better to just buy the insurance and a cheap used car that's 20 years old. Heck, a lot of these workplaces will give you a stipend for just riding your bike to work. That means that you basically get a free bike. Another tip is to go thrifting for clothes. Literally everyone is wearing a hoodie, jeans, and a t-shirt. You could probably walk into Goodwill, pick out 2 pairs of jeans and 7 t-shirts, and that would be your wardrobe from now until forever. But I'm assuming you guys want something a little bit nicer. So my tip is to go to these secondhand fashion recycled stores like Crossroads or Wasteland and buy something there. You can pick up some stuff that would ordinarily cost like $30 at H&M for about $10. Shruby asks, what is your end goal in this career? As in, are you just looking to make more money and financial independence? Or do you want to climb up the hierarchy as high as possible to see how much you can push yourself? Thoughts on entering management? Also, how do you spend your compensation of a senior engineer while you're in your 20s? Honestly, my end goal in the career, I haven't really thought of. I don't know when I would exit the industry, actually. The way I see my career is that I'm chasing a curiosity of how things work, and I'm mostly just being paid for how well I can execute on that knowledge. Once I kind of get bored of things, or when I find that the pursuit is no longer worth it, then I'll probably retire. But it's been going strong for a couple years now, and I don't see myself retiring or quitting anytime soon. I don't think I could do management either, because the people side of things is just never really appealing to me. As funny as this sounds, code is more deterministic than people. Even though, bugs happen all the time and, you have to be on call to fix it. But I'd much rather do that than have to do that with a human being. It's just a lot easier for me and I can think a little bit more logically about it. And, I'm actually quite lazy in real life. So I'd rather work with something that is the easiest to deal with. And this breakdown of spending, I generally don't spend more than $400 on myself in any given month. The rest of my money just kind of goes towards living expenses and running the business. But if you guys want a full video breakdown of it, comment below and let me know if you want to see what my budget looks like. So that'll do for me. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Also, feel free to follow me on my socials where you can vote for what topic I cover next. And if you're interested in securing that next job offer, you can book me for interview coaching at echantech.com. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.